Okay, good morning. Let me introduce myself first. My name is Levira Madina Pitaloka, and here I want to present my presentation about the types of beverages. Types of beverages is divided into three types: alcoholic, non-alcoholic, and combined beverages. For for the first. Here, I want to explain about the combined beverages. So here I have uh, example from the combined drinks. For the first one is a cocktail. Cocktail is a mixed drink that typically includes alcohol and other ingredients like fruit juice, syrup, or soda. And for the example of cocktail is a margarita. For the next is a Radler. Radler is a German drink made by mixing beer with lemon, soda, or lemonade, often lower in alcohol content. So, for the example of Radler is a classic Radler made with lager and lemon soda. So, for the next is a highball. Highball is a mixed drink made with a spirit like whiskey or vodka and a larger proportion of non-alcoholic mixer like soda, water, or tonic. For the example, is a whiskey and soda. For the next is a boozy coffee or tea. Is a coffee drink with alcohol added, typically served as a dessert or after dinner drink. For the example, is the Irish coffee. So for the next one is the alcoholic beverages. Alcoholic beverages is divided into two types. For the first one is a uh, fermented alcoholic drink, and for the second is a distilled alcoholic drink. For the fermented drink, for the example is a beer. Uh, Beer is a is an alcoholic beverages made by fermenting grains, usually barley with water, hops, and yeast. It's one of the oldest and most widely consumed drink in the world. So for the types of beer, there are lager, ale, porter, stout, wheat beer, sour beer, bock, and saison. So here I want to explain the types. For the first one is a lager. Lager is a crisp, clean tasting beer fermented at low temperature. And the example of lager is a Budweiser. So for the next is ale. Ale is a broad category of beers fermented at warmer temperatures, often fruitier and more robust. For the example is a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. So for the next is a porter. Porter is a dark malty beer with flavor like chocolate and coffee. And for the example is a Fuller's London Porter. So for the next is a stout. Stout is a very dark, rich beer with rosy flavor, often heavier than a porter. For the example is a Guinness Straw. So for the next is a wheat beer. Wheat beer is a brew with a significant proportion of wheat, light, cloudy, and often citrusy. For the example is Hoo Garden. So, for the next is a sour beer. Sour beer is a tart and acidic beers produced through wild fermentation or by adding bacteria. For the example is a Lineman's squeeze. So, for the next is Bock. Bock is a strong German lager that's malty and smooth. For the example is a Paulner Salvador. For the last is a saison. Saison is a Belgian-style farmhouse ale that's spicy, fruity, and dry. For the example is a saison de Dupont. So for the next fermented drink is a wine. wine is an alcoholic beverage made from fermented grapes or other fruits. The natural sugar in the fruit are converted into alcohol by yeast. So for the types of wine, uh, is for the first is red wine. Red wine is made from dark grapes with a skin contact, giving it colors and tannish. For the example is a Cabernet Sauvignon. So for the next is a white wine. White wine is made from green or light colored grapes, usually with a skin contact. For the example is a Chardonnay. So for the next is a rosé wine. Rosé wine is made from red grapes with limited skin contact, giving it a pink hue. And for the example is a Whispering Angel rosé. So for the next is sparkling wine. Sparkling wine is a carbonated wine, either naturally or artificially fizzy. For the example, is the champagne. For the next is a fortified wine. Fortified wine is a wine with added distilled spirits, usually brandy, increasing alcohol content. For the example is a port. So for the next is a dessert wine. Dessert wine is a sweet wines often served with a dessert. For the example is a sauternes. For the last one is ice wine. Ice wine is made from grapes naturally frozen on the vine, producing a very sweet wine. And for the example is Innis Clean ice wine made from Canada. So for the next drink is a mead. Mead is an alcoholic beverage made by fermenting honey with water, sometimes with added fruit, spice, or herbs. It's one of the oldest known alcoholic drink. So for the types of meat. Uh, for the first is traditional meat. Traditional meat is made with just honey, water, and yeast. For the example, is a redstone traditional meat. So for the next is a melamel. Melamel is a meat fermented with fruit. Uh, for the example is a Charm City Meatworks variant mango compagno. So for the next is a methylene. Methylene is a meat flavored with spice or herbs. For the example is a moonlight meadery variant desires is with the black currants, blueberry, and spice. So for the next is cider. Cider is a mead made with apple juice or cider instead of water. For the example is a bee nectar zombie killer, a cider with a cherries. A pine. For the next is a piment. Piment is a mead made with grape juice or wine grapes. For the example is a Szechuan piment. For the next is a braggot. Braggot is a hybrid of mead and beer made with honey and malt. For the example is a dogfish head variant mead stout, beer mead hybrid. So for the next is hydromel. Hydromel is a very light, low alcohol mead. For the example is a white flower meadery variant light mead. For the last is a bochet. Bochet is made with a caramelized or burnt honey, giving a toasty, rich flavor. For example is Apis mead and winery bochet. So for the next is cider. Cider is an alcoholic beverage made from the fermented juice of apple. It can range from dry to sweet and still to sparkling, depending on the apples and fermentation process used. For the types of cider, for the first is hard cider. Hard cider is a general term for alcoholic cider made from fermented apple juice. For the example is Angry Orchard Crisp Apple. So for the next is a dry cider. Dry cider is a fermented until most sugar are gone. has a crisp and less sweet. And for the example is a strongbow dry cider. So for the next is sweet cider. Sweet cider is a retains more residual sugar for a sweeter taste. For the example is a woodchuck amber sweet cider. So for the next is a sparkling cider. Sparkling cider is a carbonated cider, either naturally or artificially fizzy. For the example is a Martinelli sparkling cider or is pineapple cider. So for the next is a still cider. Still cider is a non-carbonated cider, played like still wine. For the example is a if cidery variant still cider. So for the last is ice cider. Ice cider is made from apple juice concentrated by freezing, resulting in a sweet dessert style cider. For the example is a Domaine Pinnacle Ice Cider come from Canada. So for the next is sake. Sake is a Japanese alcoholic beverage made by fermenting polished rice, often called rice wine. It's brewed more like beer and can range from dry to sweet, served hot or cold. So for the types of sake are for the first is a honjozo. Honjozo is a sake with a small amount of distilled alcohol added, making it lighter and smoother. For the example is Hakutsuru Honjozo. So for the next is a ginjo. Ginjo is a premium sake made with rice that's polished to 60% or less of its original size, resulting in a fruity, refined flavor. For the example is a Jinro Ginjo sake. For the next is Daiginjo. Daiginjo is an even higher quality ginjo sake made with rice polished to 50% or less, offering a delicate and romantic flavor. For the example is a Dazai 39 Daiginjo. So for the next is a nigori. Nigori is unfiltered sake, giving it a cloudy appearance and a creamy sweet flavor. For the example is a Tozai Snow Maiden Nigori. So for the next is a kosu. Kosu is aged sake, offering a more complex, richer flavor profile, often with a earthy or nutty notes. For the example is Shirakabe Gura Kosu. So for the next is Nama. Nama Nama is unpasteurized sake, offering a fresh, lively, and slightly tangy flavor. For the example is Kikusui Nama. And for the last is a Futsushu. Is a standard or everyday sake, often less refined but still widely consumed. For the example is a Gekkeikan traditional sake. Okay. For the next one is distilled beverage, distilled alcoholic, uh, or we can say it a hard alcohol. For the first one is a vodka. Vodka is a clear distilled alcoholic beverage made from fermented grain or potatoes. It is known for its neutral flavor and is commonly used in cocktails or consumed straight. Types of vodka. For the first is a plain vodka. Plain vodka is the classic natural flavor vodka with a little too addictive is it? It is the standard version used in most cocktails. So for the example is a Smirnoff number 21. So for the next is a flavored vodka. Flavored vodka is infused with various flavors such as fruits, herbs, or spice. For the example is absolute citron. Uh, For the next is a premium vodka. Premium vodka is a high quality vodka, often made from the finest ingredients and distilled multiple times for some smoothness. For the example is a Grey Goose. Mm. For the next is art. For the last is artisanal vodka. Artisanal vodka is a small batch handcrafted vodka, often using traditional methods and technique ingredients. For the example is a Tito's handmade vodka. So for the next is whiskey. Whiskey is a distilled alcoholic beverages made from fermented grain maize, which can include barley, corn, rye, or wheat. It is aged wooden barrels, typically oak, giving it a distinct flavor and can range from smooth and sweet to spicy and smoky. And for the types of whiskey is for the first is the Scotch whiskey. Scotch whiskey is from Scotland, typically made from malted barley and aged for the least 3 years in oak barrels. It can be smoky or peaty or smooth. For the example is a Glenfiddich 12-year-old single malt Scotch. For the next is Irish whiskey. Irish whiskey made from Ireland, usually smoother and lighter than Scotch and often triple distilled. For the example is a Jameson Irish whiskey. For the next is a Bourbon. Bourbon is an American whiskey made primarily from corn, at least 51%, with a sweet and full-bodied flavor, aged in a new charred oak barrels. For the example is a Maker's Mark. So for the next is a Tennessee whiskey. Tennessee whiskey is similar to bourbon but filtered through charcoal before aging, known as the Lincoln County process. For the example is the Jack Daniel's Old Number 7. So for the next is rye whiskey. Rye whiskey is made from at least 51% rye. This whiskey has a spicier, more robust flavor compared to bourbon. For example, is a bullet rye. For the next is the Canadian whiskey. Canadian whiskey is often referred to as a rye whiskey in Canada. It tends to be smooth, light, and easy drinking. For the example is a Crown Royal. For the next is Japanese whiskey. Japanese whiskey is made in Japan, often modeled after Scotch with meticulous craftsmanship and a smooth, balanced flavor. For the example is the Yamazaki 12-year-old. So for the next is rum. For the next is the rum. Rum is alcoholic beverages made by fermenting and distilling sugar cane juice or molasses. It's typically aged in wooden barrels, giving it range of flavors from light and sweet to dark rich. So types of rum. For the first is a white rum. White rum is a light, clear rum with a mild flavor, often used in cocktails. For the example is a Bacardi Superior. So for the next is a gold rum. Gold rum is aged rum that has a deeper flavor than a white rum with a golden color from barrel aging. For the example is a Mount Gay Eclipse Gold. For the next is a dark rum. Dark rum is a rich, full body rum with a darker color, often aged longer, and with a stronger molasses flavor. For example, is a Gosling Black Seal. For the next is the black rum. Black rum is similar to dark rum, but with a stronger, sweeter flavor profile, often with a hints of caramels and spices. For the example is a Captain Morgan Black Spiced Rum. Next is spiced rum. Spiced rum is infused with spices like cinnamon, cloves, and vanilla, giving it a more aromatic and flavored taste. For the example, is a Sailor Jerry spice rum. So for the next is a flavored rum. Flavored rum is a rum infused with a various fruity fruits or other flavoring. For the example is a Malibu coconut rum. For the next is a overproof rum. Overproof rum is a rum with a higher alcohol content than standard rum, often used in cocktails or a best for punch. For the example is a Pusher's 151 overproof rum. So for the last is a premium age rum. Premium age rum is a rum that has been aged for several years, offering smooth and complex flavor. For the example is a Zacapa, 23-year-old. So for the next is again. Again is a distilled alcoholic beverage made from grains and flavored with botanicals, most notably juniper berries. It has a crisp aromatic taste and is commonly used in cocktails like the classic gin and tonic. For the first types of gin is Dry Gin. London Dry Gin is a classic style of gin with a strong juniper flavor and no added sweetens. It's dry and crisp, commonly used in cocktails. For the example is a Beefeater London Dry Gin. For the next is a Plymouth Gin. Is a style of gin with a smoother, earthier flavor made in Plymouth, England. It has a slightly sweeter profile compared to the London Dry Gin. For the example is a Plymouth Gin. So the next is the Old Tom Gin. Old Tom Gin is a sweeter style of gin, often used in a classic cocktails like a Tom Collins. It's a bridge between London Dry Gin and Geneva. For the example is a Hyman's Old Tom Gins. So for the next is Geneva. Geneva is the Dutch and Belgian processor to gin, made with a malt base and flavored with the juniper berries. It has a richer, more malty taste. And for the example is Bols Geneva. For the next is a new Western or contemporary gin. Is a modern take on gin with less emphasis on juniper and more focus on other botanicals and flavors, resulting in a more experimental and diverse profile. For the example is the Hendrick's Gins. For the last is a Navy Strange Gin. Navy Strange Gin is a higher proof gin, typically over 57% ABV. Originally used by the British Navy, it has a more intense flavor and it is often used in bold cocktails. For the example is a plain mode Navy Strange Gin. For the next is a tequila. Tequila is a distilled alcoholic beverage made from the blue agave plant primarily in Mexico. So the types of tequila is a blanco. Blanco or silver tequila is unaged tequila clear and with a strong agave flavor. It's often used in cocktails like margaritas. For the example is a Patron Silver. So for the next is a Joven or Gold Tequila, a blend of Blanco tequila and aged tequila, giving it a smoother taste with a light golden color. Like for the example is a quarter for a special gold. For the next is Reposado Tequila. Reposado Tequila is tequila aged for two to 12 months in oak barrels, offering a balance of agave flavor with a smooth, woody taste. For the example is Espolon Reposado. So for the next is Añejo Tequila. Añejo Tequila is aged for at least 1 year. This tequila has a richer, more complex flavor with a deep oak and caramel note. And for the example is Don Julio Añejo. So for the last is extra añejo tequila. Extra añejo tequila is aged for more than 3 years, resulting in a very smooth, rich, and complex tequila with a deep amber color and rich flavor. For the example is a class azul extra añejo. For the next is brandy. For the last is a brandy. Brandy is a distilled alcoholic beverage made from fermented fruit juice, most commonly grapes. It's typically aged within barrels, which giving it smooth, rich flavor with notes of fruit and oak. And types of brandy for the first is cognac. Cognac is a premium brandy from the Cognac region of France, made from specific grape varieties and aged in oak barrels for at least 2 years. And for the example, Hennessy versus Cognac. So the next is Armagnac. Armagnac is another French brandy from Armagnac region, typically distilled once, giving it a richer flavor and aged in oak barrels. For the example is the Cateau de l'Eau de Armagnac. So for the next is a brandy de Jerez. It's a Spain's brandy made in the Jerez region of using solar aging methods for a smooth, complex taste. For the example is Osborne 103 brandy Jerez. So for the next is American brandy. American brandy is made in the United States, often from grapes but also from other fruits, and usually aged a shorter period than a European brandies. For the example is Evan Williams American brandy. And for the next is Pisco. Pisco is a South American brandy made from distilled grape, mainly produced in Peru and Chile, often with a distinctive floral flavor. For the example is a Pisco Porto. So for the next is a fruit brandy. Fruit brandy is made from fruits other than grapes such as apples, pears, or cherries. It has a fruity flavor that reflect the fruit used. For the example is eau de fruits. It's made from pears or apples. For the next, for the last is a pomace brandy. Pomace brandy is a brandy made from the leftover grape skin, seed, and stems. After the juice is pressed, often with a more robust flavor. For the example is a grappa. It is Italian pomace brandy. So for the next is non-alcoholic beverages. Non-alcoholic beverages is divided into two: carbonated beverages and non-carbonated beverages. For carbonated is divided into two, that natural ingredient and artificial ingredient. Uh, which natural ingredient is a mineral sparkling water. Mineral sparkling water is a naturally carbonated water that originates from underground spring and contains dissolved minerals such as sodium, magnesium, and calcium, which contribute to its taste. So, for the next is a probiotic fermented drink. Probiotic fermented drink is a beverage that contains live microorganisms, typically bacteria or and yeast, that are beneficial for good health. So, the types of probiotic fermented drink is like a kombucha, kvass, and kefir water. Kombucha is a fermented tea drink made by fermented sweetened tea with a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast or SCOBY. It is slightly aversive, tangy, and often flavored with fruits, herbs, or spice. It's popular for its potential health benefits such as improving digestion and boosting the immune system. And for the next is kvass. Kvass is a traditional fermented beverage made from rye bread, water, and sugar. It has a slightly sour, tangy taste and is mildly alcoholic, usually less than 1%. So it's not categorized to the alcoholic beverages because it's under the ABV. So popular in Eastern Europe, it is often flavored with fruits, herbs, or spice, and is known for its refreshing qualities and potential probiotic benefit. So for the next is kefir water. Kefir water is a fermented dairy-free beverages made by fermenting sweetened water or fruit juice with a water kefir grains, which are combination of bacteria and yeast. It's similar to kefir milk, but does not contain dairy. The drink is slightly aversive, tangy, and is often flavored with fruits or herbs. It is known for its probiotic content, which can support good health. So for the next is a carbonated drink with an artificial ingredient, like artificial sugar, artificial colors, and it's not good for our health. And for the example of carbonated artificial ingredient drink is like diet soda, energy drink, and a soft drink. And for the next is a non-alcoholic non-carbonated drink. For the first one is a coffee. Coffee for the coffee is divided into two, black coffee and milk coffee. For the first one is a black coffee. Black coffee is uh black coffee types of black coffee. For the first is single espresso. Single espresso is a small concentrated suit of coffee made from finely ground coffee beans brewed with pressure. The double espresso is a two shot of espresso providing a stronger and more intense flavor. So the next is Americano. Americano is espresso diluted with the hot water, making it similar to drip coffee, but with a richer taste. Lungo is a long espresso where more water is used, resulting in a milder and less concentrated flavor. So for the next is a filter coffee. Filter coffee is made by slowly dripping hot water over ground coffee, often resulting in a lighter, less intense cup than espresso-based drink. So for the next is a milk coffee. Milk coffee has several types. For the first is a cappuccino. Cappuccino is equal parts espresso, steamed milk, and milk foam, giving a creamy texture and strong and coffee flavor. So espresso macchiato, espresso a suit of espresso stained with a small amount of steamed milk or foam, uh, offering a bold coffee taste with just a hint of creaminess. For the next is the cafe latte. Cafe latte, a sort of espresso with lots of steamed milk and small amount of foam, making it creamy and mild. For the next is a flat white. Flat white is similar to latte, but with a ratio of espresso to milk and a velvety texture, typically made with microfoam. So for the next one in the cortado, cortado is equal parts of espresso and steamed milk, balancing the strong coffee flavor with the creaminess of the milk. So for the next is the milk. Milk is divided into two types, plant-based and animal. For the plant-based, example is soy milk, coconut milk, almond milk, oat milk, cashew milk, hazelnut milk, and rice milk. And for the from an example from the animal's milk is like cow's milk, goat's milk, sheep's milk, buffalo's milk, horse's milk, and camel's milks. And for the next is the water. For the types of water, here there is several types of water. For the first one is a tap water. Tap water is a water that comes directly from the municipal water supply, often treated for safety, but mainly contains mineral and chemical like chlorine. And for the next is the mineral water, is a water that comes from a natural source and contains mineral like calcium, magnesium, or sodium, which can give it a distinctive taste. And for the next is a spring or glacier water. Is a water sourced from the natural springs or glaciers, typically free of pollutants and rich in minerals. For the next is a distilled water. Distilled water is a water that has been purified through distillation, removing impurities, minerals, and contaminants, leaving it nearly pure water. So, purified water is a water that has been filtered or treated to remove contaminants, but it may still contain some minerals depending on the filtration process. For the next is a flavored or infused water, that water that has been infused with the fruit, herbs, or other flavors for refreshing taste with no added sugars. So for the next is the alkaline water. Alkaline water is the water with a higher pH level above 7, often marketed for potential health benefits like neutralizing acid in the body. So for the next is a well water. Well water sourced from an underground well, typically not treated treated like tap water and may contain natural minerals or contaminants depending on the location. So, for the next is the tea. Tea types of for the types of tea. For the first is white tea. White tea is a light, delicate tea made from young tea leaves, minimally processed. Oolong tea is a partly fermented tea falling between green and black tea and a flavored and strange. Pure tea is a fermented tea from China known for its earthy flavor and aging process. Green tea is a lightly processed tea with a fresh, grassy flavor retaining its natural antioxidants. For the next is a black tea, is a fully fermented tea with a strong, bold flavor and higher caffeine content. And for the last is a yellow tea, is a rare, lightly fermented tea with a mellow, smooth flavor, more delicate than black tea. And for the last is a juice. Juice is divided into two, fruit juice and vegetable juice. For the example is a for fruit juice is like apple juice, orange juice, mango juice, banana juice, pineapple juice, strawberry juice, and etc. And for the vegetable is like tomato juice, carrot juice, spinach juice, or etc. Okay, maybe enough until here. Pre- my presentation, my present today. I hope you can get what I mean. Thank you.